May 16th, Joliet Township School Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Here.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Here.
Dr. Huntington? Here. Mr. Coffey?
Here.
Mrs. Stiff?
Here.
Mr. Kennedy? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Here.
We will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place. Colors. Present. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Outward. Face. Forward. March.
Thank you. You may be seated. Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome all of our visitors in person and those watching via live stream. At this time, members of the public may make comments to the Board of Education on any item listed on the agenda. Please note, this is not an opportunity or the venue for the Board of Education members to engage in a conversation or provide responses, but the Board of Education respects and values the information delivered to us during public comment. Your comments should be directed to the Board of Education, and all in attendance must conduct themselves with respect and civility towards others. You must conclude your comments in 3 minutes. Mrs. Rico, please call the name of our first individual wishing to address the Board of Education.
We didn't have anyone sign up today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will seek a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through E.
So moved.
Second. It has been properly moved and second. Are there any questions?
Yes, under the check register, can we pull the Hames, Petreka, and Fester bill and vote on that separately?
Sure.
As well as the minutes of April 18th.
Do we take, we can do that. Okay. The minutes from when?
The 18th, April 18th?
We need a new motion to amending.
I'll make a motion as amended, pulling the April 18th minutes and the Fester bill.
Need a second?
Second. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer,
Yes.
Dr. Huntington.
Yes.
So I can make a motion to approve the April 18th minutes as well as the Fester bill.
No, we have to do it separately.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 18th minutes.
So moved. Second?
Question? Roll call?
Dr. Huntington,
Abstain.
Mr. Coffey,
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff,
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Abstain.
Mrs. Lynn,
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Fester bill.
Need a second?
Second?
It has been moved and second. Questions? Roll call?
Mrs. Guerrero Numer,
Yes.
Dr. Huntington,
Abstain.
Mr. Coffey,
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff,
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Lynn.
Yes.
Okay. Our next item is recognition and awards. So we would now like to recognize our students from Joliet Township Central High School.
Good evening, and thank you to the board. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing the Joliet Central Army JROTC leadership team. I'd like to tell you a little bit about their accomplishments before we introduce the students. So after advancing through 2 intense phases of online competition, Joliet Central's JROTC leadership team will compete in a championship event in Washington, D.C. this summer. The 2023 U.S. Army JROTC Leadership Bowl Championship will be held on the campus of the Catholic University of America, June 18th through 22nd. This event is sponsored by the U.S. Army Cadet Command and is conducted by College Options Foundation. Joliet Central's high school JROTC team earned top scores out of the 1,369 Army JROTC leadership teams that competed from around the world. This team is one of only 40 Army JROTC Leadership Bowl teams in the nation to advance to the final competition. The Leadership and Academic Bowl is a nationally recognized competition created exclusively for JROTC students. By participating, cadets learn the values of citizenship, academic competition, and college opportunity. The competition creates tremendous opportunities for JROTC cadets by allowing them to demonstrate leadership and academic abilities. So I'd like to introduce the 4 students and their commander who will be participating in that. Congratulations. When I call your name, if you would please come forward. First is Angela Bravo Morales, Tylee Ferrer, Mariah Guzman Martinez, and Isabel Rojas Marin. And their instructor, Major Phil Jacobs.
Congratulations.
We would now like to bring up Chris McGuffey for our West students.
Good evening and thank you. I'd like to introduce Mr. Scott Siebert, who comes to us from Aux Sable and representing the Three Rivers Region Manufacturing Association for Joliet West students' participation in the safety poster contest, which they put on each year. So Scott, if you wouldn't mind coming up and offering these awards to those students.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, board, students, faculty. It's exciting to be here. So I am Scott Siebert. I'm the manager of environment and regulatory for Aux Sable Liquid Products. It's a natural gas processing plant down in the Shanahan-Morris area. But as Chris mentioned, we are members of the Three Rivers Manufacturers Association. Tonight, I'm here representing TREP, which is the Three Rivers Education Partnership. So TREP's mission really is to kind of connect students in the classrooms to companies like ours, with a mission of, introducing to career opportunities most likely in the fields of science, engineering, technology, manufacturing. TREP's hosted this, or put on the safety poster competition for many years now. Safety's paramount in all of the facilities we're member companies. We sponsor the poster contest, so it's exciting to be here to present. There's 5 finalists and 1 grand prize winner. So, here we got it here. So the local printer was also kind enough to blow up the students, the winners' poster. So they'll get that. They'll get a letter, and they also, I think, they're Amazon gift cards for the finalists and for the grand prize winner. So without ado, I'll start with the finalists. So our first finalist is Lisa Hartney. Next finalist is Ashlyn Noon. And I don't know if the others are here. Next finalist is Carla Zamora. And then our last finalist is Gwen Tron. And then finally, for our grand prize winner, which I think is receiving a $250 gift card, Alessandra Damian.
What were their posters on? Can you guys tell us what your posters were?
Oh, those are great.
Thank you, very nice, thank you. Who was the teacher?
Awaz.
Mr. Elias A. Rain, so thank you to him.
He should be in the.
Oh,
video.
Yeah, he is, come on.
Thanks, Mr. McGuffey. There we go, now we got it right. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. And any parents who would like to come up and take pictures, you are welcome. All right, congratulations.
Mr. McGuffey. He will now give us our students who are receiving district office recognition. Thank you.
So again, good evening. I'm really excited here to recognize all of our student achievement throughout the school year in career and technical education. And so we have a couple different events that have taken place, some similar students who have participated in both of those events. So I'll start with our first event that we want to recognize our students for, and that was for the Skills USA competition for both Joliet Central and Joliet West students who participated. These students go above and beyond the academic expectation as they engage with industry partners and compete with other CTE students in the region and state to demonstrate their career skills amongst various fields. Those fields include computer programming, culinary arts, electronics technology, interior design, nail care, nurse assisting, welding, and photography. So I'll go ahead and read those Joliet Central students who did participate in the regional competition, and also those that placed at the state qualifier. Oliame Orkatan for computer programming, who also state qualifier. Portright Gleason for culinary arts at the regional competition. I think they might be in the wrong order though. We'll distribute them. Jose Hernandez for culinary arts. Journey Jenkins for culinary arts. Michael Skoll for culinary arts. We do have a little bit of a list, so. Victoria Turner for culinary arts. Edgar Perez for electronics technology. Congratulations. Maya Guerrero for interior design. Aliana Burke for interior design. Alyssa Lopez for nail care. Talia Butler for nurse assisting. Jandai Jackson for nurse assisting. Jandai. Fernando Jimenez for nurse assisting. Adriel Keller for nurse assisting. Congratulations. I think she's Ty Murakami for nurse assisting. Marshawn Polk for nurse assisting. Kaylee Stark Torres for nurse assisting. Tatiana Strong for nurse assisting. And Steve Tabe for nurse assisting. Jose Ferreira for welding. Xander Garcia for welding. Congratulations. Logan Lucas for welding. Luke Merritt for welding. Emmanuel Quiros for welding. And that concludes our Joliet West students. So I'll call our Joliet Central students up as well. Do you want to do West? Okay, sure. And if I could get the Joliet West teachers who also helped participate, which included Miss Ryan Hager, Mr. John Barber, Miss Elise Cochran, Mr. Elias Arain, and Mr. Joe Cruz. If you guys could come on up as well. Thank you.
Then I'm gonna aim focus a little bit and then tighten in. There we go. Very good. All right, Mr. McGuffey, did you want to get in as well?
Sure.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And any family members who would like to come up, you are very welcome as well.
Now Central. And from Joliet Central, Vivian Vasquez for baking and pastry. Santiago Navarro for photography. Janaya Hughes for photography. Max Alvarez for technical drafting. Brian Barron for technical drafting. Shatir Figueroa for technical drafting. Congratulations. David Gonzalez for technical drafting. Diego Gutierrez for technical drafting. Oziel Lara for technical drafting. Congratulations. Emilio Mercado for technical drafting. Heidi Ortiz for technical drafting. Brandon Perez for technical drafting. Congrats. Gabriel Rodriguez for technical drafting. Leo Smith for technical drafting. Vi Stulga for technical drafting. Diego Vasquez for technical drafting. Alexandra Whitlock for technical drafting. Alondra Pintor Sandre for technical drafting. Sai Aguirre for welding. Raul Govia for welding. Diego Chavez for welding. Ellen Munoz for welding. Jason Herpcha for welding and welding fabrication. Tyler Rolink for welding. And Galileo Sanchez for welding. If we could also get the Joliet Central teachers who helped contribute to this, their success, Mr. Ben DeRuling, Mr. Tim Greigel, Mr. Dale West, Ms. Rachel Shaw, and Ms. Rochelle Hovner.
Yep, yeah, so if you want to just call them
Yeah,
up right now, okay.
And I do apologize, I did miss Mr. Edgar Silva from Joliet West earlier. So Edgar, if you want to come on up. Sorry about that, Edgar. In a separate competition, we'd also like to recognize some of the same students for participating in a technical drafting competition. This competition is called the IDEA, Illinois Drafting Educator Association, and each year they put on a drafting competition for students to participate in. So we'd like to recognize the following Joliet Central and Joliet West students for their participation in that competition. Ms. Shatir Figueroa for placing second in Intro to CAD and Drawing. Ms. Alexandra Whitlock for placing third in Machining CAD Division. We'd also like to recognize Mr. Dylan Trainer from Joliet West for qualifying for state in 3D CAD modeling. And the following students from Joliet Central: Shatir Figueroa, Leo Smith, Diego Gutierrez, Gabriel Rodriguez, Emilio Mercado, and Alexandra Whitlock for their competition in the drafting. If you guys want to come back on up. And thank you to the Joliet Central and Joliet West drafting teachers, Mr. Dale West and Mr. Noah Fabris, if you guys would want to come on up as well.
We are so proud of our students for the work that they've demonstrated in achieving such honor. You represent our district well. Thank you. We will now take a 5-minute recess for us to come out to you and congratulate you.
I liked that. Good idea.
And get started with the next item on our agenda. Superintendent report.
Sure. So there is no correspondence, but, I do want to share a legislative report or concern with everybody. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of Senate Bill 900. And I'm just going to read from the Capitol Watch, but Senate Bill 990, represents a significant infringement on local control in that it would drastically limit a school district's ability to sell property at the highest potential value. Additionally, the bill would incentivize municipalities and townships to view district property as an investment opportunity, as those entities would have the ability to purchase property at a low price and then flip the property for a profit at a later date. At this time, it is in the House committee. It did pass the Senate. So I encourage everybody to reach out to representatives to talk about this and the concerns that you have and that we have in any of our constituents. So, any questions? All right. That concludes superintendent reports.
Thank you. We'll go ahead with our action items. Action item 8A, strategic plan update and action plan adoption. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Motion carried. Action item B, agreement with Redeemed Connection Ministries and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question? All in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
When you're on different boards, it's done differently, I know.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Action item C, agreement with Involved Inc. and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Question? Roll call.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Action item D, contract for educational services with After the Peanut and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question?
I just want to clarify, because I know there was some confusion in the original contract, that the total cost is $41,940.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Action item E, E-rate recommendation. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question?
I do have a question on this. This E-rate firewall, is that's required to participate in this program?
No. So that's one of the items that you can select through this program. So the E-rate program is through the Federal Communication Commission, or the FCC, and it's been around since 1997. And what it does is, for schools, there's federal revenue to assist schools with upgrades with telecommunication. So essentially, in the beginning, it was like your cell phones and things like that. Now it's more computer-based, so hardware, mostly hardware, not software, infrastructure types of projects. When we did our infrastructure project about 5 years ago, we received about $1 million from the FCC. And this allocation is from the FCC, and it's based on your free and reduced numbers. So we're discounted based on that. So if a project is, like in this case, $134,000, because of our free and reduced numbers, we get an 80% discount, so we only pay 20%. And we have 2 to 3 years normally to spend these allocations. Even right now, there's another $1.1 million that we are evaluating our current technology, and will bring forth another recommendation to the board probably in the next few months. So Matt and his team are working with the E-rate consultant to determine which projects will fit that. So it just depends. It's the parameters from the federal government. They bid out all of our projects. There's requirements associated with that. And then once all those documents are submitted, then we can make the award. So that's where we are now.
So I must have misread this. And so we're getting $134,600 worth of hardware from Titanium Supply Company.
Yes.
And we're paying $26,320. Okay.
Correct.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
misread that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is.
Okay.
It's a great.
Yeah,
It's a great program.
It sounds like a good deal.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call. Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Nomer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Action item F, 2023 to 2024 breakfast and lunch price recommendation. May I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
It has been moved and second. Question? Or comment?
Yeah, so this is just a recommendation to maintain our current food, breakfast, and lunch program for next school year.
I'm glad we kept it at that cost, and as a parent, it's cheaper to buy my kid lunch than it is to go grocery shopping and buy it, so I appreciate that.
So I'll speak to that. Right now, most school districts, that really was free and reduced because of COVID, we have a surplus. And in the breakfast, lunch program, you can't really keep a surplus. You're supposed to spend the dollars. But because everyone was free for almost 2 years, that revenue just increased. So we have a surplus that we have to spend down. And truly, we're supposed to increase it 10% based on federal guidelines. But because we have the surplus, we can maintain it at the current levels. So that's why you see that. So as we spend that down, then we'll see where things are in the future. But right now, and you see the history of this, we've basically been 5 cents going up, but the past few years, it's been at the $3.10.
And as a parent, I appreciate that.
Yes.
It's, again, better to have your kid eat at school than to go
Correct.
grocery shopping. So
Yeah.
I appreciate
Or
that.
than to go hungry, so.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Nomer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Action item G, 2022-2023 budget amendment. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Question or comment?
Yes, 2 reasons for a budget amendment. The first one is due to a new, what we call GASB, or the General Accounting Standards Board, which is GASB 87. And right now, whenever we have a lease, it's in that fund. So for instance, we have technology lease. It's normally an education fund. If we have a lease in another, let's say for buildings and grounds, it's in the buildings and grounds fund. However, this GASB now dictates that we have to realize all of those leases in our bond fund. So this is for this school year, and it actually went into effect after we approved the budget in September. So we have to make this a budget adjustments before the audit, which is basically before the end of the school year. And that's to about $2.7 million. It's zero effect to the budget itself. It's just us moving from one fund to the other to be in compliance with GASB 87. The second one is, this is every year, limitation of administrative costs. So there are certain costs associated with the ISBE in terms of administrative costs. Normally, there are superintendent's accounts and assistant superintendent accounts. And what happened in this case was, and so from one year to the next, you can't budget no more than 5%. So from 2022 actual, you can't budget no more than 5% for 2023. So what happens with this is, at least what happens in this case, the budget for 2022, let's say, was $8,500 for travel. The actual was $1,000. But what we did for 2023 is you still have your same allocation from 2022, so I'm going to budget the $8,500. And the reason that the dollars wasn't expended, we were coming out of COVID, so there were still not a lot of conferences and things like that going on. So that then increases that budget tremendously from the previous year. So what we have to then do is, so it takes it over to 7%. So we have to now do is amend the estimated budget by $22,000 and go through the public display for 30 days, and then the board approves in June. So we had to basically decrease those accounts by $22,000. And then what we'll do going forward, normally we don't have this issue, but because of the things that was happening during the pandemic, you know, every year we've come up with some different things. But we will monitor that, and normally we do. But that was basically what occurred with those. And it was like 2 or 3 different accounts where we just didn't expend those dollars, but we then budgeted the same amount, knowing that we're getting back to normal in regards to those types of things.
So on the GASB, is that related to, is that the government equivalent to FASB?
Yes.
And putting the leases on the balance sheet and
Yeah.
advertising? Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes. Action item H, 2023 request for summer hours. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Action item I, personnel reports, 1 through 12. May I get a motion?
Second.
Question or comments?
I did have a question about the number of, let me make sure it's in the right part of the agenda here. The volunteer assignments, there seem to be several in the extra pay area where there were some people that were paid for their activities or their coaching, and then there were several volunteer positions that are being approved. Why aren't they being paid? Yeah, you, go ahead.
So for each sports or club, we have a designated number of coaches and/or sponsors. However, many parents or representatives from the community may want to be part of that club or sports program. So they then can volunteer, and they go through our hiring process just like someone that would be, you know, hired for pay. And they have to be approved by the board to be a volunteer. So like, for instance, like football, you know, we have 7, 8 coaches, but we may have 5 or 6 people who want to volunteer and be a part of it to assist with the program, because we only have so many stipends for each of those activities and clubs.
We also have examples of people that don't want to be paid because they can't have the time commitment of,
Right.
they want to volunteer to help,
Right.
but they're not going to be there.
Like be at every practice.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in our
Right.
programs too.
So would that be the volunteer positions are all external, or there are some internal?
No, there's some internal.
Some are internal, most are external, but
Okay.
some are internal.
Okay, thank you.
And if there's anything about a specific one, you could let me know.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
volunteers.
Yeah, we have a lot.
We do have a lot of volunteers
Which is
in
good.
activities as well.
Roll call?
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Action item J, student discipline recommendation.
After receiving and deliberating the information contained in the hearing officer's report, the Board of Education is charged with deciding, 1, whether removing the child from his or her learning environment is in the best interest of the school. 2, what the rationale is for the specific duration of the recommended expulsion. 3, whether all appropriate and available behavioral and disciplinary interventions were exhausted. And 4, whether the continued presence in school would either A, pose a threat to the safety of other students, staff, or members of the school community, or B, substantially disrupt, impede, or interfere with the operation of the school. The Board of Education must then convene into public session to formally vote on the motion to expel, if expulsion is the consensus arrived at during executive session. I propose a motion for case number C-222-338, recommend expulsion until June of 2024 and place at Lincoln School.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Question, comments? Roll call?
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer?
Yes.
I propose a motion for case number W-222-339, recommend expulsion until June of 2025 and place at Lincoln School.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved in second. Question or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Propose a motion for case number W-222-340, recommend expulsion until June of 2024 and place at Lincoln School.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved in second. Question, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Propose a motion for case number W-222-341, recommend expulsion until June of 2024 and place at Lincoln School.
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Our next item on the agenda is unfinished business.
There is none at this time.
Thank you. New business. Thought I heard something. New business.
Sure, so, within your business, it is first read of the board policies that are listed within. All the changes are within the board packet. Those are first read policies, draft update, as well as draft update unwritten, numbers 1 and 2. Most of those changes are due to legislative mandates that are going into effect. There was really no options to look at, but if there's any questions, please let me know. And then number 3, the 5-year review. Those are policies that do not have any significant changes, but every 5 years, there is a suggestion of review, and so these are up for review. And then, upon adoption, the date would demonstrate that they have been reviewed. According to board policy, unless it's an emergency type of situation, the policy goes for first read 1 month and action the second month. So these would be listed for action and approval in June.
Our next item, transportation for students and their children for school infant child care center.
Yes, I was asked to place this on the agenda, so I defer to Mr. Coffey for the discussion.
Yes, thank you. So, in our strategic plan, we all want to increase our graduation rate, decrease our tardy truancy rates, and I just think that there's some low-hanging fruit here. I think that, I know that we transport our students to school, provided they live outside of the normal radius. But I understand we don't transport their children if they're putting them into the child care center. And this seems to have caused a lot of our students to be tardy, be late, miss school, not come to school. And in looking at like a Thornton, for example, 205, they transport parent and student not only to their child care center, but then to the home school because of the 3 high schools. And wondering if there's anything we can do to increase attendance and increase graduation rate for these students simply by providing transportation for student and child at that child care center.
We certainly could look into it, and I know this information was shared right now, and I just shared where our liability carrier shared the last time this question was asked and the concerns that were listed. And then, 2, we have our transportation department, so we'd have to look at, what other schools such as Thornton are doing. But that would require us to create new policies and procedures in this area, and then potentially get them reviewed and looked at. So if that's something the board would like us to work on or to look into, I know we're collecting some information, but I don't have additional information other than what our insurance carrier shared last time this question was asked at this time.
No, that's great. I personally, and open it up for comment, but I think if we can increase the likelihood of kids attending school by providing that transportation, I think the students would come to school because they haven't dropped out yet. So I think they have a desire to be in school. And I've seen our child care center. We know that they've gotten gold awards. I think it's great. And if we can utilize it more by getting students there, I just think we'd really be helping these students and, in turn, reducing our truancy rate and potentially increasing our graduation rate.
And in saying that, I would, and maybe not everyone here understands, but I would actually like to see a presentation from our director of the Child Care Center to give us some data and to provide us with a plan for transportation, what is she expecting, and how we're gonna pay for it. So I would like to see that.
So I thought I was going to be asking questions about this because I did send an email earlier. And so when I saw you were putting it on the agenda, I was like, oh, okay. I work with special populations in my day job. And, I understand that we have our own transportation department. But there are some occasions where you have to kind of contract out due to the special nature of those programs. So I certainly would encourage you, I believe I shared a resource with Mr. Shaw, yes. Just to kind of look at, there's certain companies that have contracts and specialty contracts with that insurance that is so important. And then there are some funds through DHS and DRS, not DRS, DHS and DCFS potentially, to offset the cost of the district.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's an even better reason to get some updated information from the Director of Child Care Center.
Okay, I'll work with the director to prepare a presentation. We are, they don't work in the summer, so I'll give you a timeline of what that is to be fair
prior to then. But I will report back to the board on when we can anticipate a presentation.
I also wanted to say thank you for bringing that up, because we have talked about this for a few years, and the board's been aware of it and would like to look into this, and have talked to the director several times, so thank you.
Are there any board reports?
Yes. One second. I just, I wanted to make sure I said everything clearly really quickly. I want to say thank you to Matt for giving a presentation on his good friend, Pablo Marquez, and LEDA, which is the Latino Economic Development Association, won his Lifetime Achievement Award at Kermes. It was an extremely well-organized event. It is a much-needed event. People were there from not just Joliet, people were there from all over the place. We had indigenous dancers, there was history lessons given. I want to say thank you to the Councilman Guerrero and Cardenas for both showing up. Also, Alex Paramo and Mr. Guerrero also started LEDA. And I want to say thank you to Grace Gonzalez, Mr. Grimes, and Brenda Kennedy, and all of the people that it takes to put that event on. It was just amazing to see all that and all the resources. If anyone ever says we don't resource our students, we're always looking to resource and give everything we can. And the community just came together. Like, they come to so many of our events, and the passion and word on the street is even our principal is dancing a little bit. I thought that was pretty cool. So just congratulations to Joliet Central, the entire Kermes team, the $1,000 scholarship that was given away. It was an amazing event, and I'm just, and also grateful to the board members that were present, and hopefully, this was their first year back. Hopefully everyone can make it next year. So great job, everyone.
Any other board reports?
Is there a video of that dancing?
There is.
There is.
Yep.
I would also like to take this opportunity to thank both let me back up, because I only participated in half of the tour yesterday, but I attended, I visited West, the Catalyst program, and Gateway 2.0, as well as Central's Gateway 2.0 and Catalyst program, and they gave us an excellent presentation of the programs, a better understanding. So kudos to the two schools for taking time, and the administration for attending with us.
Well, I just want to say that transition and pathways were part of that too. I was on my way, and so was our JTHS Child Care Center. I was on my way to go to JTHS Daycare Center. I had stopped by there. But then I started learning trigonometry in Carla Franchini's class. And yeah, I never knew that I would understand trigonometry. A student started teaching me and showing me the work that they were doing, and it was pretty cool. And so I just kind of stayed there for a while. So that was really cool.
Cosine and
Yeah.
I need to apologize to the transition program because we were running late and I had another appointment, so we did not go into transition. I went to the open house, so at least I had that area, but definitely want to see the kids in session. Hopefully I'll be able to get over there soon.
You will. They even let you read. And if you want to wear your Dr. Seuss outfit, they let you do that too.
I don't think I'm going to dress up.
And lastly, I would like to recognize Matt Kennedy and Lorraine Guerrero for stepping up to serve as mentors to our newly elected board members. So thank you for, we don't get paid for this, and that's an extra task. So I appreciate you accepting those duties.
I also have to thank Dr. Guzman for entertaining me for 2.5 hours for my board orientation on a Friday night. I looked at my watch. I was so engaged the whole time. And then I realized it was 6:30, and I was like, oh, man, I'm not a good person on a Friday. So I apologize for keeping you so late, but I appreciate the time.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It went by fast, I will say that, it went by fast, so thank you.
Do we have any announcements? Oh,
Can I make an announcement?
yes.
I just, it's been a whirlwind for the last, I don't know, month, and we've had lots of great stuff going on with senior awards at both campuses, and things have gone really well. So I just want to thank our buildings for the outstanding job they do in May. I'm just gonna say in May, because it is a marathon, and we have graduation coming up this week. But then I also want to thank Christine and her team and everybody who helped with the salute to service. It was, you know, bringing things back after COVID. We have to relearn everything, and we thought we had things down pat, and now like we're in this relearning piece. And there were a lot of events this year, and Salute to Service went as well as everything else did. So Christine, to you and your team, congratulations. We had so many partners, and we're still getting thank you cards for it. Christine came in my office today, so I just really appreciate the hard work and the support everyone gave for that. And the board representation was great there too, so thank you so much, but it was a great event. And Sue Pritz Bornhofen, I